Hello guys! So in today's video, we are going to be talking about Pharaoh Sanders. Everything you need to know about him, his musical career, education, and lifestyle. So stay tuned as we dive into the video. American jazz saxophonist Pharoah Sanders. Born Pharoah Lee Sanders, October 13, 1940 to September 24, 2022. Sanders, a saxophonist well known for his overblowing, harmonic, multiphonic, and use of sheets of sound techniques, contributed significantly to the growth of free jazz and spiritual jazz throughout his work with John Coltrane's groups in the middle of the 1960s, and later through his solo work. As a leader, he produced more than 30 recordings and worked closely with various artists, including pianist Alice Coltrane and singer Leon Thomas. He was been referred to as probably the best tenor player in the world by fellow saxophonist Ornette Coleman. On October 13, 1940, in Little Rock, Arkansas, Pharoah Sanders was born. His father worked for the city of Little Rock, and his mother was a chef in a school cafeteria. Sanders, an only child, started his musical career playing the clarinet for church hymns. His early artistic successes were in the visual arts, but Sanders started playing the tenor saxophone when he was a student at Scipio Jones High School in North Little Rock. Sanders relocated to Oakland, California, where he resided with relatives after completing high school in 1959. He took a few classes at Oakland City College in music and painting. Tenor saxophonist Pharoah Sanders began his professional career in Oakland before relocating to New York City in 1962. Sanders was frequently without a home, according to Sunra's biographer, who offered him a place to reside, some clothes, and advice on how to go by the name Pharaoh. He had attracted the interest of Eric Dolphy and John Coltrane by the time he was playing with players like Billy Higgins and Don Cherry in 1963. He joined Coltrane's group in 1965, when the latter began to favor the avant-garde jazz of Albert Ayler, Sun Ra, and Cecil Taylor. Ascension, which was recorded in June 1965, and the dual tenor album Meditations, which was recorded in November 1965, were Sanders and Coltrane's debut recordings together. Sanders then joined Coltrane's final quintet and frequently played lengthy, discordant solos in it. Sanders had a big influence on Coltrane's later style, despite the fact that Sanders' voice did not evolve in the same way as John Coltrane's. Their collaboration had an impact on Sanders. The chanting in and other spiritual aspects would subsequently appear in many of Sanders' own compositions. Sanders would later create a great deal of free jazz that was altered from Coltrane's solo-centric design. He took part in the 1968 Jazz Composers Orchestra Association CD, the Jazz Composers Orchestra by Michael Mantler and Carla Bley, which also featured Cecil Taylor, Don Cherry, Larry Coryell, and Gato Barbieri. Pharaoh's first debut album was not what he had anticipated. The solos played by the other musicians seemed a little out of place because the musicians playing with him were much more plain than Sanders. Sanders began working with Impulse in 1966 and recorded Tired, which was made public the following year. Sanders' time with the label during those years was a commercial and critical success, as well as continuing to collaborate with Alice Coltrane on her album Journey in Satchidananda. Sanders continued to make his own albums throughout the 1970s. This includes the 30-minute free jazz wave-on-wave composition. The creator has a master plan from the album Karma. This song included pianist Lonnie Liston Smith, who collaborated with Sanders from 1969 to 1971, and vocalist Leon Thomas's distinctive oboe-weddy yodeling. Bassist Cecil McBee was another member of his ensembles during this time, appearing on albums including Jewels of Thought, As If Ozam, Deaf Dumb Blind, and Thembi. Despite being promoted by African American radio Sanders' bold free jazz lost some of its appeal. He started to broaden his style after experimenting with African rhythms for the 1971 album Black Unity with bassist Stanley Clarke. Sanders experimented with a variety of musical genres in the late 1970s and early 1980s, including R&B, Love Will Find a Way, modal jazz, and hard bop. Sanders departed Impulse in 1973 and experimented with a number of different labels, including Teresa in 1980, which was acquired by Evidence in 1991. Sanders made an appearance on the 1992 Evidence label edition of Ed Kelly and Friends, a recording he had previously finished for Teresa Records in 1979. The 1992 version includes additional songs with Robert Stewart, a student of Pharaoh. In 1994, Mahmoud Guinea, and now a musician, and Sanders traveled to Morocco to record the album The Trance of Seven Colors, which was produced by Bill Laswell. He performed with Umar bin Hassan and Abiodun Oywol on the song This Is Madness from the Red Hot Organization album Stolen Moments. Red Hot plus Cool that same year, as well as on the bonus track. The creator has a Master Plan Trip Hop remix. The album was given the Time Magazine Album of the Year award. Franklin Kiermaier, a drummer and composer, and he also worked together on Kiermaier's Solomon's Daughter album, which was issued on the Evidence label and was later re-released, with 3 previously unreleased tracks on the Time label in 2019. When Verve Records released Message from Home in 1995 and Save Our Children 2 years later, Sanders made a comeback with a major label. But once more, Sanders left the company because of his disillusionment with the music industry. Sanders collaborated on the albums Message Far From Home 1996 and Save Our Children 1999 with Laswell, Jawabal, and other musicians. Despite his resume, he claimed in an interview in 1999 that he was having problems getting employment. He appeared on a number of Tashiji Mwo's albums in 1997, including Rashid Ali. Sanders continued to perform at festivals, concerts, and album releases throughout the 2000s due to a resurgence in interest in jazz, including the 2004 Bluesfest Byron Bay, the 2007 Melbourne Jazz Festival, and the 2008 Big Chill Festival. He has a sizable fan base in Japan, and recorded with the band Sleepwalker in 2003. Sanders released Spirits in 2000, and the creator has a Master Plan, a live album, in 2003. He was given an NEA Jazz Masters Fellowship for 2016, and recognized on April 4, 2016, in Washington, D.C. Sanders collaborated with the London Symphony Orchestra and English electronic music producer Floating Points to release the album Promises in 2020, the first significant new album by Sanders in nearly 2 decades. It was released in March 2021. It received a lot of praise, with Pitchfork describing it as a clear late career masterpiece. Sanders died on September 24, 2022, at his home in Los Angeles at the age of 81. Alright guys, that is it for today. If you enjoyed today's video, do well to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye for now.